Have you ever noticed that the more spiritually awakened you become, the more love starts to hurt? No one tells you this at the beginning of the journey. They talk about peace, about light, about expansion, but they don't talk about the moment when the awakened heart realizes that true love means stripping away everything that's comfortable. And that's where the part no one wants to face comes in. Love hurts, not because it's bad, but because it shows you everything you still need to heal. This video isn't just another cutesy chat about love is all we need. It's about the other side, the one almost no one talks about, but everyone feels. You'll understand why true love tears away your masks, dismantles your ego, and forces you to face who you really are. Alan Watts said that love is like fire. It warms, but it also burns away what's false. And that's exactly what we'll talk about here. Because those who awaken spiritually discover a hard and liberating truth at the same time. Love is not a refuge, it's a mirror. It doesn't come to complete you, it comes to expose you. And when you understand this, everything changes. Your relationships, your outlook on life, even the way you feel God's presence within you. Stay until the end, because what you're about to hear today could change the way you understand love forever. Now that you understand that true love also hurts because it awakens you, it's no longer the same as before. This content opened your mind to see what almost no one has the courage to face, that growing spiritually means learning to love without running away from pain. And when something changes within you, it's natural to want more people to go through this same transformation. So do what those who awaken do. Support what transforms you. Like this video and subscribe to the channel to continue receiving truths that strengthen your soul and expand your consciousness. Today you took a step, but the next video will help you understand what it truly means to experience love in its most powerful form. When spiritual awakening truly begins, it doesn't come with flashing lights or angels descending from heaven. It comes silently, disconcertingly, and almost always accompanied by a weight most don't expect. Because awakening isn't about becoming better, it's about seeing everything that was hidden. It's when you begin to see the world with clear eyes, but your heart still filled with old wounds. And that's when the shock comes. You realize that love, that feeling everyone says is the most beautiful thing in life, also hurts. It hurts because it reveals. It hurts because it removes the veil of illusions the ego has built to protect itself. And it hurts because truly loving requires the courage to show yourself as you are, without masks, without disguises, without control. At first, you think spiritual love will be peace, harmony, and fulfillment. But when it truly arrives, you realize it's a mirror. It shows you where you're still stuck, where you still carry fear, where you still try to control what you should only feel. And that part is hard, because when you awaken, you can no longer fool yourself. You begin to see the hidden intentions behind gestures, the manipulations disguised as affection, the attachments disguised as love. Awakening is like turning on a light in a messy room. Nothing has changed, but now you see everything. And honestly, it's impossible to go back to sleep after that. Alan Watts said that humankind's greatest illusion is believing they can separate what's beautiful from what's painful. In love, that's exactly what happens. Everyone wants the beautiful part. The presence, the affection, the I love you. But almost no one wants to face the other side. The fear of loss, the jealousy, the insecurity, the renunciation. Those who awaken spiritually begin to understand that love is both, inseparable. It's the flame and the heat, the pleasure and the wound, the beginning and the end, happening simultaneously. This awareness is liberating but at first frightening, because you realize that loving also means giving in to the risk of being hurt. This is where many people get lost. Some close themselves off, thinking pain is a sign something went wrong. Others blame themselves for feeling too much, believing that evolved love doesn't hurt. But true awakening shows exactly the opposite. The more awake you are, the deeper you feel love, and the deeper it touches you. And the deeper it goes, the more it pokes at wounds that were dormant. Love, when it's real, doesn't come to distract you. It comes to transform you. And transformation always hurts. It hurts because the old must die for the new to be born. This is the part almost no one wants to admit. Loving with awareness is an act of extreme vulnerability. It's opening your heart, knowing it might hurt, but still choosing to feel. Because love, at its core, isn't about protecting yourself. It's about allowing yourself. And this permission is the first sign of spiritual maturity. You no longer love to be loved, nor to complete yourself. You love because you understand that love is the very movement of life, and the pain that comes with it isn't punishment, it's the price of awareness. Alan Watts said that resisting pain is like trying to hold your breath. You only suffer more. The secret is to let love flow, even when it tears you apart. Right now, you might be remembering someone, a relationship that left its mark on you, a loss that still resonates. And that's normal. Awakening brings these memories to the surface to show you that nothing was in vain, that even the pain had a purpose. Love didn't fail. It just showed you where you still needed to grow. So write your thoughts in the comments below. Agreed. To mark the moment you understood that love isn't just about feeling, it's also about enduring, learning, and remaining open, even after falling. This word has power because it represents the moment when consciousness awakens within you. And it's precisely at this point that transformation begins to become real. When you stop romanticizing love and start living it truthfully, your heart stops being a battlefield and becomes a school. You realize that every disappointment, every rejection, every goodbye was a lesson in surrender. Awakening isn't an easy path, but it's the only one that sets you free. And it's when you accept this truth that love stops being a wound and becomes a portal, a gateway to something much greater, which will be revealed when you understand what happens after the ego is dissolved. When you truly begin to awaken, you realize that love isn't about control or ensuring the other person stays. True love doesn't mix with possession, with jealousy, with that need to constantly prove someone is yours. This kind of love doesn't liberate, it imprisons. And those who are awakening spiritually begin to see that mature love is the opposite of this. It's letting the other person be who they are, it's enjoying freedom, it's accepting that nothing, absolutely nothing, is guaranteed. And yes, this is scary, because the ego wants security, it wants stability, it wants to be sure it won't lose. But real love has never been about having, it's always about allowing. That's where the pain arises. When you love consciously, you understand that you can't force someone to love you the same way. You learn that reciprocity isn't born from control, but from connection. And that's what challenges the ego most. Loving without holding on, because the ego thinks the more it holds on, the more secure it is. But what Alan Watts taught, and few understand, is that the more you try to hold on to life, the more it slips through your fingers. Love is the same. The more you try to ensure it stays, the more it transforms, the more it distances itself. And not because it's over, but because love can't stand being trapped. Spiritual awakening makes you see that love isn't a contract, it's a dance. Sometimes the rhythm is slow, sometimes intense. Sometimes you dance along, sometimes you need to let go. Love isn't destroyed when the other person leaves, it proves itself. Because true love continues to exist even when the relationship ends. It leaves marks, lessons learned, and a new awareness of what it means to give of oneself. This is the most beautiful and most difficult part, understanding that love can continue even without someone's presence, because it doesn't depend on the other person, it depends on what you've become within yourself. But the ego, the ego doesn't accept this easily. It screams, it demands, it compares, it wants guarantees, it wants eternal promises. But those who awaken understand that love doesn't fit in promises. It lives in the now. It's the moment when you look at someone and say, without needing to speak, I let you be. And it's in this freedom that love blossoms. Surrender is the highest point of love, and the scariest too, because in it you have no control over anything. And that's precisely why it heals. To love in an awakened way is to understand that you don't have the other person. You share the moment with them. Think about how many times you've tried to hold on to someone out of fear of loneliness, how many times you've tried to change them to fit your ideal of love. And every time you did, what happened? Suffering. Because love and control never lived in the same house. When love is genuine, it respects the other person's space and your own. It doesn't demand, it doesn't threaten, it doesn't manipulate. It simply exists. And when you learn this, you discover a kind of peace that once seemed impossible. You stop fighting the flow of life and start swimming with it. And that's where everything changes, when you understand that true love is about surrender, not competition. It doesn't come to fill voids, it comes to teach you to be whole. And the more you surrender, the more you understand that love was never about the other person. It was always about how much you're able to open up, without losing yourself. Write your words in the comments below. Delivered, to affirm that you chose to love without control, without fear, without dependence. Because whoever comments this is saying to the universe, I trust. And it's precisely this trust that will prepare you for the next step. Because when you begin to love freely, you discover that love has a price, the pain of separation. And it's at this point that the awakening becomes deeper, because you realize that even pain has a purpose. No one wants to talk about it, but the truth is that love only fully reveals itself when it hurts. The pain of separation isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign that something inside you has been truly touched. Those who awaken spiritually understand this over time. Pain doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to remind you that the love you felt was real, that it left its mark, that it changed you, that it broke you out of your automatic state. The pain of separation is the echo of love experienced with presence. It's the price of allowing yourself to truly feel. At first, you try to fight it. You want to erase memories. You want to pretend you don't miss them. You want to believe that it's all over. But deep down, something calls you to look again. Because awakened love doesn't disappear when the other person leaves. It transforms. What was once companionship becomes learning. What was once attachment becomes liberation. And it's in this process that true awakening happens. Because when you understand that pain is not the end, but a passage, love expands within you. Alan Watts said that suffering arises when we resist change, and separation deep down is the most profound change love can offer us. Think about it. If the pain of separation were a bad thing, why does it make us grow so much? Why is it after loss that people become more aware, more empathetic, more mature? Because pain teaches us what comfort doesn't. It forces you to look within and discover what truly matters. It tears at the ego, dismantles defenses, and reveals what remains true amidst it all. When you separate from someone, what remains is not the body, nor the presence, but the energy you created together. And that's what proves the connection existed. Those who awaken understand that pain is the price of depth. Superficiality doesn't hurt because it never touches the soul. Only genuine love can leave such a real void. And strange as it may seem, this void isn't absence, it's space. A space that love has left for something new to blossom. It's at this point that most try to escape, trying to fill the void with distractions, with other people, with rushing around. But those who awaken choose to stay, choose to feel, because you know that this space is sacred. It's where the heart reorganizes itself and learns to beat with more awareness. The pain of separation, when seen, clearly transforms into a form of gratitude. You stop thinking, why did it end? And begin to understand, what did this teach me? This turning point is the true miracle of awakening. Love doesn't fail when it ends. It fulfills its purpose. Sometimes, someone's purpose in your life isn't to stay, it's to show you something you didn't see. And this realization hurts, but it also liberates. It makes you mature, it makes you grow, and it prepares you for an even more conscious love. And you know, what's funny? After a while, when the pain fades, you realize the love is still there, it's just changed form. It's gone from desire to compassion, it's gone from attachment to understanding. And in that moment, you understand that love was never a person. It was a mirror. It was the universe's way of showing you what's most true within you. So, comment here the word gratitude, to mark the moment you recognize that even pain was a proof of love. This word is a reminder that love doesn't end, it evolves. And when you understand this, your heart no longer closes, it expands. And it's precisely in this expansion that something even more profound begins to happen. Because when the ego surrenders and consciousness opens, you discover that the pain you felt wasn't punishment, it was the beginning of healing. There comes a point in spiritual awakening when you understand that it's not the soul that suffers from love, it's the ego. The soul observes, learns, and grows. But the ego, this set of beliefs and fears you've always carried, is the one that despairs when love changes, when the other person leaves, when things don't turn out as you imagined. The ego wants control. It wants guarantees. It wants happy endings. And awakening comes precisely to shatter this illusion. When love hurts, it's the ego screaming because it realizes it's lost control. And, as uncomfortable as it may seem, this is the sign that consciousness is expanding. Alan Watts said that pain is like the sound of a shell breaking so something new can be born. The ego is that shell, and every time you feel your heart tighten, it's actually a piece of the old you shedding to make room for the new. Consciousness doesn't feel pain, it observes. Those who awaken learn to do this. Instead of drowning in suffering, they begin to observe it. It's not escape, it's lucidity. It's when you begin to realize that every rejection, every loss, every failed love was a lesson in self-knowledge in disguise. Love, at this level, stops being a fairy tale and becomes a mirror that shows what still needs healing within you. And it's amazing how over time this perspective changes everything. You stop blaming others, you stop punishing yourself, and you begin to realize that everything happened exactly as it needed to, that the relationship that ended wasn't a punishment, it was an invitation to evolve, that the person who hurt you showed you where you still had open wounds. The ego hates hearing this because it wants to be right, it wants to be the victim or the hero of the story. But consciousness doesn't need to win, it wants to understand. And when you start acting from this place, something inside you becomes lighter. You begin to feel that, even in pain, there is learning. Even in loss, there is purpose. But of course this process doesn't happen overnight. The ego doesn't like to lose ground. It tries to negotiate with the conscience. Okay, I accept the end, but I want to understand the reason. Or, okay, I forgive, but I never want to see that person again. The ego always wants to have the last word. But spiritual expansion is exactly the opposite of this. It's the moment when you stop arguing with life and start listening to it. It's when you understand that you don't need to know the reason now because the learning will come in due time. This surrender is the point at which suffering begins to transform into wisdom. And it's curious how the people who have suffered the most from love are the ones who have evolved the most. Because love has this power. It breaks you where pride once lived. It makes you lower your guard, leaves you vulnerable, and it is in this vulnerability that awareness grows. The ego calls this weakness, but it is quite the opposite. It is strength. The strength to face yourself without masks, the strength to admit that you can't control what you feel, the strength to open up even after being hurt. When you reach this point, you begin to feel a strange peace. Not because the pain is gone, but because it no longer controls you. You learn to coexist with it, and it is in this space that expansion occurs. Perhaps right now you're going through this phase. The tightness of your heart, the uncomfortable silence, the desire to understand why. Breathe. This pain isn't a setback, it's a step forward. It's a sign that something within you is awakening to a deeper level of consciousness. Pain is shaping you so that love can return in a cleaner, freer, truer form. Comment here, expanded, to affirm that you understood. Suffering didn't destroy you, it transformed you. This word carries power because it represents the turning point of someone who let their ego suffer but decided to grow. And it's precisely at this point of growth that the next step begins to emerge. Because when consciousness expands, you begin to see life through different eyes and realize that the true beauty of love lies not in permanence, but in movement. When you begin to see with the eyes of awakened consciousness, you understand something that completely changes the way you experience love. Nothing was meant to last forever. And this isn't sad. It's liberating. The problem is that the human mind has been trained to believe that true love is the kind that never ends, that if it ended, it's because it failed, that if there was a separation, it's because something went wrong. But the truth is the opposite. Love is beautiful precisely because it is fleeting. It's the constant movement that makes it alive. Alan Watts said that love is like music. It doesn't exist in the end. It exists while it's being played, and it's this movement that makes it magical. Awakened consciousness understands that everything alive changes, and love is part of this flow. It is born, grows, matures, and at some point transforms. It can become friendship, it can become silence, it can even become distance, but it never disappears. It only changes form. Suffering comes when you try to freeze what should flow. When you want love to be a photograph, it is a river, And the more you try to hold the water in your hands, the more it escapes. Conscious love is the one you let flow because you understand that movement is proof that it is alive. This doesn't mean giving up on people or bonds. It means stopping fighting the nature of what is real. To love is to accept the full cycle, not just the beginning. It's living love knowing it's impermanent, yet still. Diving in with everything. Because beauty isn't in making it last, it's in living intensely while it exists. People who understand this are those who don't hold grudges, because they know the end is also part of the story. Love is like a sunset. You don't try to hold it back. You contemplate it as it unfolds, and it's this contemplation that makes you feel alive. The ego, on the other hand, hates movement. It wants guarantees, permanence, and emotional stability. It thinks security is synonymous with love, but the soul doesn't think so. The soul wants experience, wants learning, and wants expansion. It understands that change isn't the end, it's the natural cycle of life. Therefore, when something ends, the soul is grateful, and the ego complains. The soul sees meaning in transformation, the ego sees only loss. Awakening is the moment when you stop living for the ego and start living for the soul, and that changes everything. Think about how many times you've suffered trying to make something last. How many times you forced connections that had already served their purpose, how many times you confused love with insistence, and how much this wore you down. When you awaken, you understand that love doesn't need to last to be valuable. Sometimes it came just to teach you something, to open your heart, to show you who you are, and that's more than enough. The love that lasts forever is the learning, not the relationship. It's what remains inside you after everything changes. And the most beautiful thing is realizing that when you embrace the movement, life begins to flow more easily. You stop being afraid of losing and start opening yourself to what's coming. You begin to trust that everything leaving your life is simply making room for something more aligned to enter. This is true faith. It's not believing that nothing will change, it's trusting that everything that changes is part of a greater plan. When you understand this, love becomes a dance. You no longer want to hold anyone back, you just want to keep pace while it lasts. And it's at this point that the heart finds peace. You begin to look back and see that nothing has truly been lost, only transformed. The person you were, the love you experienced, all of this still exists. It's just changed form. Movement is proof that love continues, and the more you accept the flow of life, the more it surprises you with new ways of loving. Write your word here in the comments. Flow. To mark the moment choose to let love move without fear. This word symbolizes those who have learned that love is not about holding back. It's about feeling, living, and letting it flow. And it's when you embrace this movement that love begins to guide you to a new level of consciousness. Because when you let go of control and understand that love is a cycle, you discover something even deeper. Love is the very path to enlightenment. When you finally understand that love didn't come to complete you, but to awaken, everything changes. This is where love ceases to be just a feeling and becomes a path that demands surrender, awareness, and truth. Because loving in an awakened way is much more than romanticism. It's pure spirituality. It's the point where love and self-knowledge meet, and you realize that everything you've been through, the joys, the pain, the losses, was life's way of leading you to the center of yourself. Alan Watts said that love is the closest experience we have to divinity because it's in it that the I disappears. And that's exactly what happens when you become enlightened through love. The ego falls silent, and the heart finally speaks. Enlightenment is not a distant state, it's a state of presence. And love is the most effective teacher to teach you this, because true love requires you to be here now. You can't truly love while stuck in the past or worried about the future. Love is an act of presence, and when you love consciously, you begin to realize that the other person isn't a coincidence. They're a mirror reflecting parts of you haven't yet dared to look at. That's why love sometimes hurts so much. It shows you where you still need healing, where you still carry fear, where you still resist surrender. Love illuminates precisely the places the ego tries to hide. This is the deepest point of awakening. Understanding that love is the instrument life uses to transform you. The pain that comes with it is not punishment. It is refinement. Every disappointment, Every goodbye, every heartbreak was in fact a push to bring you closer to your essence. It's as if God uses love to shatter everything false within you, until only what is true remains. Love, in this sense, is sacred fire. It consumes what is illusion to reveal what is real, and when you realize this, the pain stops paralyzing you and starts to free you. You understand that love was never about us and them. It's about unity. It's about remembering that everything is connected, that the love you gave and the love you received are part of the same movement. This is where the soul awakens and realizes that separation was just an illusion created by the mind. Because deep down, love never goes away. It changes form, transcends time, and always returns in a new form, in another person, in another moment, in another version of you. Enlightenment through love happens when you stop seeking love as an external experience and begin to experience it as an internal state. You stop needing and start overflowing. You stop asking and start giving. And the curious thing is that when you reach this point, love begins to seek you out, because love always recognizes those who vibrate at the same level. Awakening teaches you that love is not something you earn. It is something that reveals itself when you are ready to feel it without fear. Now you understand why love, when experienced consciously, ceases to be pain and transforms into light. This content opened something within you, that clarity that changes the way you see love, life, and even your own wounds. And when something touches you like this, it's a sign that you're evolving. That's what makes it all worth it. Seeing yourself awaken, feel, understand. And just as this video helped you see more deeply, it can also help others who are still lost in the pain of love. So support what transforms you. Like and subscribe to the channel to continue this journey with me. Comment the word here, wake. To confirm that this message truly reached you. This word is a seal, a way of showing that you're ready to go further. Because what comes next will take you to a new level of understanding, a point where love ceases to be just a feeling and becomes pure consciousness. The next video will open your eyes to something few perceive, and when you watch it, you'll understand that what began here was just the beginning of a much greater transformation.